of you. We start in 2 minutes. Satya sir has already joined. Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good
Good,
evening, sir.
good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good
So
evening.
good to see you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very, very
It's
much.
my pleasure. My pleasure seeing you, sir.
So we have a very eminent speaker today. Uh, I would say sir is a practitioner. So the definition of saying that he is a speaker is possibly not right. Right. He is a practitioner, a very senior person. In fact, sir is. I am also in Cochin. Sir is also in Cochin. He practices out of Cochin. Some of his clients are top-notch clients like State Bank of India. He's one of the most respected uh, CA firms in Kerala. In fact, that's one of the best things about Satya sir is very grounded. Though sir has one of those best clients. I'll just give you a small introduction about sir. So today's agenda, Abhishek Bete, all of you all, is very simple. I had seen Sir speak once about 4 months back for a Dhanam conference where Sir talked about financial mismanagement, what people do in terms of financial mismanagement. And personally, it was an eye opener for me. And because one of the things that we keep saying is don't divert your working capital loan to capital expenditure. Don't take money out of your business very soon, right? So in fact, the time allotted for respected sir was around 2 hours, but then I realized sir had much more content than what was being delivered. Then we did a seminar together, and that's where I requested sir today it will be a very short session, but I think it will be a very useful session because today it's very challenging time. So I reached out to respected sir and said, sir, what could you do for my dear students who are now in business and you have been advising clients in a big way? So sir said, I would like to talk about financial management in the new normal. I'd like to talk about financial management in the new normal. Okay. And let me now give you the profile of Satya sir. Sir is a fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountants. He's a senior partner of Verma and Verma Chartered Accountants, Cochin. As I said, one of the most reputed firms, here. He has been in the profession for 36 years, right? And you could see the humility of the person. 36 years. He is an expert in indirect and direct taxes. Incidentally, sir is also in the Telegram group, and he had advised one of my students, right, on when the RBI sent a notice that they should be converting themselves to an NBFC. But sir helped the student, and the student is from Lucknow, incidentally, right? He has handled various consultancy assignments in the areas of share valuation. Abhishek Bete, please note share valuation, due diligence audit and costing systems, mergers, etc. Right? So basically, financial restructuring actively associated with professional development programs organized by the Institute of Chartered Accountants. He has presented, I'm not surprised, he has presented papers for ICAI New Delhi. I'm not surprised at all. He has served as secretary and senior vice president of Kerala Management Association and president also. I welcome Dr. Vinod sir, right? You would be happy to note a fellow professional from Cochin also. So, right? And he is an expert member in various selection boards for recruitment of personnel in finance and related areas. 36 years of experience, of course, right? Sir knows how to hide talent. Incidentally, today morning, Sir called for something. When I called to confirm this session, he's so concerned about the next generation. He said, I have a junior working with me in Mumbai. Name is XYZ. I want him to develop professionally. Can you recommend some courses? And I'm like, this is what is called as leadership pipeline, which we teach in college. How do you develop a leadership pipeline? And last but not the least, he is associated with Adarsh Charitable Trust for children with special disabilities, special abilities, if I can say. Obviously, I didn't want to use this word. Autism is what's have been given. I would say special abilities, right? And of course, president of Rotary Club of Cochin Central in the year 2008-09. I would say a very, very, very experienced person. So happy that sir is gracing us. Respected sir, you could start, sir. I'm sure you have got such a wealth of knowledge which you eager to share. Please go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anil Menon, sir. Very nice words of introduction to me. I'm grateful to you, sir, for these nice words. I've chosen the subject today on financial management. during this new normal because I think, see, if you look at what is this corona all about, see, there is no infrastructure loss, there is no loss of any asset, but still we are all suffering. So what is this? This is only because there is a financial, the economics, the business is suffering. So this highlights the situation where in a business, finance is very important. So many of my clients, when I discuss with them, during this time of corona, what they will do is they find that they have been flourishing. This organization, many of them were having profit. They were all on surplus. But the moment they find that there is a low tide is happening, then the rocks will start appearing in their organization. So this is the right time for you to, for any business to sharpen, to find out where there are weaknesses, and then get right so that once the new normal happens, which is, should be very soon, let us all be optimistic. In that situation, we can be better than the normal. We cannot go back to the same situation of the pre-COVID period. Either we will be better or we will be perished. We would not have survived this corona time. So how to survive in the new normal? Every organization, even our firm like Verma and Verma, we are also thinking, or we have to survive because the audits that we do are now, we cannot go to the client place physically. We have to do on remote audit. So we need to sharpen our skill sets. We need to be technologically savvy. Earlier, if you know that business people, you know that as auditors, we come to your stock and do a physical verification. How? We come there, we count the stock. This time in the COVID period, what we have done is we have used the we have used drones. The drones went to the stock, their stockyard, their godowns, and sitting at one remote place, we could verify the closing stock. I have a large organization where they have got internal audit. Huge number of internal auditors are there going all over India, and 40-45 lakh is their monthly traveling expenditure on internal auditors alone. What do they do during this corona time? So they have installed the cameras. They have found out how they can do internal audit without going to the physically to those branches. And they have done successfully. And from the second quarter onwards, the entire internal audit team is centrally located, and they are doing the audit as if they are physically be there in the respective branches. So you see the saving. They have saved around 40-45 lakh, which is on traveling expenditure alone of these internal auditors. So once the corona is over, this company is going to be better because they are going to save expenditure to that extent on traveling expenditure of internal auditors. So similarly, these are the examples that I am saying that during these COVID times, we need to sharpen our skill sets. We need to have internally look at our businesses and find out how we can do our business better. In this, with this background, let me now take you through some of this, my topic, which I thought I will cover by 8:30 or 8:40, I will cover. But if any of you have got questions, I think we can take it. Anil Sab, will you, Ella, because I am not, as you correctly said, I am not a teacher. I am not very conversant in doing all these things. So if somebody has got any questions and they are asking in the chat box or in Q&A box, please ask me, or somebody can ask me this question, that whatever he is asking, so that I can answer them. See this, if you look at any business, there are, I would suggest, I would tell my clients that there are 4 C's. First C is a challenge. Every business will have challenges. What was the first challenge? It was demonetization. Then came the GST. And now Corona. Is it the end? No. As long as you are in business, there will be challenges. It will take one shape or the other. A businessman means you have to survive challenges day after day. The moment you stop facing challenges, you should look at whether you are in business. It is like you are in treadmill. What does the treadmill do? You keep on running to be where you are. The moment you stop running, the treadmill will throw you out from the system. So this is exactly what happens in business. So this is a never-ending process of meeting challenges, overcoming challenges, and then you have to survive. The second C which I would mention is regarding changes. There can be a lot of changes. One can be the regulatory changes. So see, whether under SEBI or as per RBI, there are so many regulators, TRAI, Insurance Regulatory Authority, or there are so many regulators who are regulating the business in India. So regulators and statutory authorities will keep on changing provisions. So there is a change, there are regulatory changes are happening. So your business should be adaptable, should be agile to survive these changes. The moment you feel that I am very fixed, I am very rigid in my business environment and the business ecosystem, then meaning that your chances of your surviving these changes is very remote. Another change could be this technology. The moment you understand about one technology, by or try to feel that yes, I am a master now of the technology would have changed. So you have to keep on upskilling your technology and keep abreast of the technological changes. The next C is about commission. Commission means it is not a discount or commission. I would mean this commission means something like a fraud. There is fraud happening everywhere. In every business that is happening. Even Varma and Rama, we are not insulated from that. Many frauds may be happening in my organization. If time permits, I will tell you at the last what happened. One small fraud happened in my office. So there are frauds happening everywhere. If you are in business and a customer call is coming to your employee sitting at the reception, that person can divert your inquiry, a business inquiry, to your competitor by taking commission. These are all frauds by employees. So you must always, a fraudster is one step ahead of you. You will find a fraud only after it is committed. And you will find on hindsight, it is very simple. I could have found it out. So every fraudster will be one step ahead. So you must be very vigilant and you should have proper internal control systems to ensure that the frauds are not committed and the business ecosystem. And the fourth one which I would mention is regarding competition. No business is insulated from competition. The moment you feel that I am successful, there is another person who is going to copycat your business and will set up exactly like what you are doing. And there comes a competition. So you have to survive the competition. Always there will be a supply far in excess of demand. You see the real estate market, Mumbai, everywhere. You look at if you look at the supply and the demand, now the supply is much more than the demand. That is true with many situations now. But there are certain situations where there is short supply now. I understand cycles are in short supply because people wanted to go in their own vehicles. So cycles are in short supply. White goods, TV or fridge or washing machine or dishwasher, not very commonly used in India. Dishwashers are in short supply. But many other situations, the supply will be much more than the demand. So that is competition is one factor. which you have to survive. So these are the 4 C's in business. These 4 things you cannot get away with. You have to be you always live with this. Then only you will be in business. How do you look at your financial health of your business? There are 3 parameters. 1, liquidity, leverage, and profitability. These are the 3 parameters with which you can check the financial health of your business. These are the fundamental. I will briefly touch upon how these things happen. As Menon said at the introduction, out of my experience by dealing with so many of my clients who have become successful and who have failed, have seen failure, have seen big successes. I find, I try to, this from my practical experience, I have tried to note down. On every matter which I am discussing, I have a client in my mind. So this is from my practical experience I have noted down. 1, diversion. 2, diversification. 3, wrong cash conversion cycle. Then skewed capitalization. Lack of proper budgeting system and MIS. Lack of risk assessment. Absence of periodic financial statements. Incorrect profitability assessment. And last, non-compliance of critical laws and regulations. After this presentation is over, I will share my presentation, PPT, to Menon sir. He will share with the participants. So you can please have a look at this thing. So, because I cannot do automatically, since I'm not very conversant in sharing this screen with you, that's why I'm not able to do that. So these are the common the common mistakes, financial mistakes an organization will be making. So let me first take to the diversion of funds. What is a diversion of funds? When I started my career many years back, 35 years back, at that time, where my senior partner is a founder of our organization, he told me that when a businessman starts his business, what he will do now, and then when he starts success, when he's creating a business, a successful business, the first thing that he will try to do is he will buy a big car using EMI, there are so many financial institutions giving loan, and then construct a big house. So the successful business will start facing financial shortages, the starving of finances. They will feel a shortage of oxygen, financial oxygen in the system. So that is a starting point of a business failure. So diversion means working capital getting diverted to non-business purposes. You may feel that I have got financial surplus, but you should always keep in mind that 3 months working capital should always be in your bank account. Bank account need not be current account. Easily liquid funds. That means you should be able to liquidate that and then do it. I read a magazine, business magazine, where one of the business entrepreneur has written that he quoted me and he said he had attended my seminar, some seminar, and in which I had mentioned about these that 3 months working capital should be in stock. And he said, sometime it was around June or July, he said, during this COVID time, I used that fixed deposit. And now I am able to pay my salaries and I have survived this corona, and now I am able to, that critical or the severity of corona thing, I survived because I had this working capital with me. So this is very important. You should have working capital means what? That is required for running the business from day-to-day operations. If you buy or if you divert that funds for non-business purposes, then you will feel a stagnation, or you will find that you are not able to meet your financial obligations on month-to-month basis. Cash generated from business used for non-business unproductive purposes. advanced sister concern for non-business purposes. You may have a sister concern. That sister concern is not aligned to your business, but you feel that that sister concern needs money. You divert money to that. It will have a problem. Take interest-bearing funds and then spend for unproductive purposes, your daughter's marriage, your sister's marriage, or go to a foreign trip, taking a loan. These are all, you should use your surplus money, but you should never use such high interest-bearing funds for such unproductive purposes. Can we think of some examples of, say, failed business, which is there in public domain? DHFL, CG Power, Cafe Coffee Day. What happened? The person had to commit suicide. Unitech, Cox and Kings, Vsoft Technologies. These are all names which are there in public domain. That's why I'm quoting these names. I have my clients who are not in public domain. I am not saying that. So these funds, you know that the money from the system, the money has been diverted for non-business purposes. See, so, but what you can do is, you can take the profit out of it and then invest in mutual funds or like that, some funds which you can readily take. But you should not invest in a real estate. You should not buy a land. I have a client in Kochi who says that, I have got this much, 30 cents in MG Road, 40 cents there, 3 acres there, 4 acres there. How? All the money that he had generated when the company was doing good, he thought that he should invest in real estate because this is something which is not perishable. It is there. Real estate market will only go up. This person now is starving. He has got lot of real estate, but he is not able to meet his financial obligations. Employees are resigning because they have not paid salary. He cannot give 2 cents of land to an employee. Money has to be paid at the end of a month. That he is not able to meet. So you should be careful. When I say diversion, I always used to say that it is not only diversion of money, diversion of mind also is very important. Meaning, if you are a president of an organization, you may have a successful business, but if you become a president of an organization, then your mind gets diverted from your business to that organization where you are the president. So there may be a seminar happening in one part of India. As representing that organization, you go there. Next day, it will be in the other part of India. You go there. What is suffering? Your business is suffering. But once you have a second line in your business, then you can do all these things. Not until that stage where you can afford to take active interest in such organizations, don't divert your mind. I have been a member of many professional organizations and many organizations, but I have ensured that my organization is running. When I was very active in my profession, then I never participated in this type of social activities. Then I was fully into my profession. From morning I come, I read journals, I'll be there, I'm a professional at that time. When I could have juniors in my organization, then I thought this is the right time for you to get involved in social, and that too only to the extent that is required. So diversion of mind is also important. So, but there is, after discussing about diversion, let me mention about diversification. What is diversification? Diversification is not a bad name as diversion. Diversion I covered. Now diversification. What is diversification? You can think about diversification only if you have reached saturation in your business. If you are in a particular line of business, you must penetrate to all markets. You must be the best in that market. After achieving that, then definitely you must think of a diversification, sorry. If you are not diversifying, what will happen? You think of Kodak. The moment you think about Kodak, you know that camera. Or the photocopying. When the photocopying happened, what you used to say? You take a Xerox. You go and take a Xerox copy. What is Xerox? Xerox means Xerox is only a company which manufactures or does this photocopying. Where is that company now? HMV. There are so many such examples where they have not thought about diversification at the right time. What has been the result of that? That entity left. It has failed. So diversification is not a bad name. But once having reached success like Kodak or success like Xerox, then at appropriate time, you should think about diversification. So I mentioned about the diversification. See, diversification means vertical diversification means either you can go up or come down. How is that going up or coming down is happening? See, suppose you are in a particular business and you can go a backward integration or a forward integration. What is a backward integration means? If you are a dealer of a particular product, then you can start assembling that product. It is a backward integration. You are a trader, meaning you used to buy and sell. But now what you can do is you can think of a backward integration in the sense that you can think of purchasing certain parts and then assemble it and then sell it. So you are doing a backward integration. Or you can do a forward integration, meaning you can take up the service of those products. Earlier, you were only dealing it, you were only selling it, you were not servicing it. But if you want to take up an after-sale service, then you are doing a forward integration. So that is a diversification in a vertical manner, meaning you are in the same line, going one step further up or one step below. That is what is called a vertical diversification. The second one could be on horizontal diversification. Horizontal diversification means you are in the same line, but you are expanding. Think of a car manufacturer. He was a Maruti, for example. Maruti is a car manufacturer. They are adding more varieties of car, models of cars, and also a luxury cars. They were in a particular segment, but they are expanding to other areas of Nexa type of cars, where it is called, earlier Maruti means they thought it's a common man's car, but they want to position it higher. So they have taken up manufacturing other luxury type of cars. So it is called a horizontal diversification. So new services or product under the same category is what is called a horizontal diversification. Then is called a concentric diversification. Concentric diversification means new products to take advantage of the marketing strength. I could think of a situation where a bakery a person who is making bakery, suppose he is making only breads. Suppose he want to make biscuits. Then what happens? So or cake. Earlier he was making only bread, then biscuits or cakes. These are under the bakery broad spectrum of bakery, but different products. But he was making bakery bread. He was making, now he is making bread with the fruity bread, or he was making with the other wheat bread or corn bread. These are all called horizontal. These are all called horizontal diversification. But if he is making other products which are outside this bread, then it is called a concentric diversification, meaning he's going out of the bread manufacturing and manufacturing either cake or biscuits. If it is same bread, then it's called horizontal. But bakery, under the broad umbrella of bakery, but different items of bakery manufacturing is called a concentric diversification. Tatas, for example, Tatas were earlier manufacturing only trucks. Then they started manufacturing cars also. Ashok Leyland is making only cars, buses, buses, trucks, etc. They are not into cars. Whereas Tatas have done a concentric diversification of a broad spectrum of vehicles, but under a different segment called cars. Earlier they were into heavy duty vehicles. Now they are coming into light vehicles. That is called a concentric diversification. But the next one, the fourth one is conglomerate diversification, meaning entirely new item. For example, you look at the Tatas, they are making what? Cars, they are into software, they are manufacturing salt. Think of anything under the sun is coming under the broad Tata's name. Voltas, that is that air conditioner. Many things are coming under, or airline. Many things are coming under the Tata's broad umbrella. So that is called a conglomerate diversification. That you should be very careful. When you do such things of a conglomerate diversification, then you must be very clear that you are doing it in a manner in which it will not affect your business. That you must be very careful. Before getting into an area of a non-core area, you should ask yourself certain questions. One question which you used to ask is, what I can do better than the competitor? If you start like Tatas, if they are into salt business, then they should look into how I can do better in salt manufacturing. There may be competitors. You must do better than them. Then only you will be a successful businessman in that venture. And you must have a disruptive strategy. See, every business will have certain strategies. So when you enter into a new line of business, there must be certain strategy or certain methods with which you can disrupt that market, which was already there. Then only you should enter into that business. When you enter into any business, you must always, one word which I would always feel or very passionate about is innovation. Without innovation, no business will succeed for long. It is not invention. You are not inventing a new thing, but there must be an innovation in your business. Every day there must be something which is innovative. That is what I used to ask, why a client should come to Verma & Verma. I must do something better than my competitor is doing. I must do, see, we are auditors. I cannot make any magic out of my accounts, but I should be able to do the audits in time. I should be able to deliver the client to the satisfaction. I should communicate with the clients on time. I should not create confusion for the client. So these are the methods by which I can, that is what I said, I also have to technologically upgrade. Use technology so that I can cater to my clients better. That's how every businessman should be able to. Kingfisher Airlines, what happened to Kingfisher Airlines? It was, or Videocon, Anil Ambani's Telcom. See, once when the two brothers divided, Anil Ambani thought, I will take up the new business, the new gen business. And the elder brother took up the old brick and mortar business. Where is he now? Anil Ambani, where is he? He says he is a bankrupt. He is not able to survive. So diversification is very serious matter You should think about it and then only do that. So having discussed about diversion and diversification, the next one which I would talk about is the cash conversion cycle. What is cash conversion cycle? Cash conversion cycle means how quickly you are able to convert cash back into cash. Meaning you take cash from the bank, then you purchase certain products, you process it, you manufacture it, make it as a finished product, then you send it to your godown or your showroom. From there you sell it on credit, and after that the debtor will pay. That is when after the sale is happening, the sales realization happens. So the period between the day one where you have taken from the bank money to start manufacturing or purchasing the first raw material to the date by which you are able to collect the sales realization, that many number of days is called the cash conversion cycle. So whether the shortest cash conversion cycle is better or the longest cash conversion cycle is better, the shortest is the best, because you are able to convert as many number of times as possible. If you convert cash to cash to cash, every time you convert cash back to cash, a profit will come. So to increase the profit, this cash conversion cycle should happen as many number of times as possible in a year. That much success will happen. So when I used to attend certain board meetings, a successful board meeting, directors used to ask, what is the cash conversion cycle in the last quarter? And what is the cash conversion? They will say, sir, cash conversion cycle last quarter, it was 8 to 9 days. This quarter, it has come down to 85. What is the competitive cash conversion cycle? Competitive cash conversion cycle is 75. Then why are we not able to come up to 85? So next quarter, it should come to 82. Then you must try and win. This is how a successful businessman is watching their cash conversion cycle. So every business, my friends, those who are into business, you watch your cash conversion cycle, and you should be very clear that you reduce your cash conversion cycle, your profitability will automatically increase. There is a negative cash conversion cycle. What is negative cash conversion cycle? Negative cash conversion cycle happens. Suppose you go to a big supermarket. What is happening in supermarket? In supermarket, the owner purchases materials on credit from Colgate, from Hindustan Lever, from wherever it is. He will purchase on credit and he will stock it in the shelves. We go there, we buy it, and we pay in cash. This cash he needs to repay to the supplier only after 90 days. So we pay in cash and he pays after many number of days. So that is called a negative cash conversion cycle. Meaning he is not putting his own money. The supplier's money is getting converted into stock, and then he is making a profit out of it by converting that his advantage of a supermarket by making a negative cash conversion cycle. I understand Apple computer. It is there, available in the net. You can see Apple computers. They have a negative cash conversion cycle, meaning they are not putting their money. You have to pay in advance, and then book your product, and then take it. The last results also shows they have got a negative cash conversion cycle. So those who are able to have a brand equity or create a quality of product, then this such a type of product will be able to have a negative cash conversion cycle. So the objective of every businessman should be to reduce the cash conversion cycle. I thought I will explain how to compute a cash conversion cycle. How to compute a cash conversion cycle in a simple terms, I will tell you. you find out how many number of days closing stock is there. So closing stock number of days is a positive figure. Then how many number of days debtors, that is your realizable money, is there? That is a plus figure. These two are plus figure. But you are purchasing materials on credit. So the creditors represented by number of days sales can be a minus figure. So 2 plus 1, closing stock number of days, realizable number of days are 2 plus figures. From these 2 plus figures, you reduce the creditors number of days, then you arrive at the cash conversion cycle. So 2 pluses, one is closing stock plus, the other one is debtors plus. From there, you reduce the creditors, that is payable to the creditors. So to increase the cash conversion cycle, it is enough that you increase your credit period. Meaning your purchase, you sell your supplier, I will pay instead of 60 days, I will pay only after 70 days. So you can reduce your cash conversion cycle. Similarly, when you sell it, if you are giving 60 days, you try to bring it down to 50 days. Then your cash conversion cycle can be reduced. It is not very easy. As an academician, I am telling you, but in actual real terms, it is very difficult. Very, very difficult. You will have a lot of resistance from your purchase people, a lot of resistance from your marketing people. But as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, the objective should be to guide them, to persuade them, to motivate them to achieve, to reduce the cash conversion cycle to the minimum. So after, this objective of reducing the cash conversion cycle will be most looked at with lot of optimism or positive thinking will happen from the banks also. Because what do the banks do? They fund your working capital. So if you are reducing your working capital, then the bank finance requirement will also come down. That is how your profitability increases. So cash conversion cycle I have briefly explained. If you have got practical doubts about it, I would suggest you must please consult your accountant or your consultant and get guided by it. But I will only try to tell you now that successful business people are watching at cash conversion cycle in a period like this Corona times. The next aspect which I would like to mention is regarding risk assessment. See, every businessman will face a risk. What is a risk in a business? The risk in a business is there can be regulators' risk, competitors' risk, or there can be a risk of somebody imitating your brand with only a small change in one of the alphabet. I have seen Godrej steel almaras with a different, instead of D, it is P. But you look at exactly same. The way it is there in the showroom, we will think that it is Godrej almaras. Instead of D, it is B. Something like that. So there is a competition like that is happening, and a risk of somebody making a product under your brand. Or there can be a situation where obsolescence can happen, or the technology can change. So there are many risks which a businessman will not foresee today, but you should have the vision to see it tomorrow. So the vision or the process of looking at the risks of tomorrow is technically called risk assessment. So every businessman should look at least once in a year, what are the risks in my business? Listed companies, big listed companies have been mandated by SEBI to have a risk assessment committee. They should meet periodically and find out what are the risks in a business. And then if you see a risk, then the mitigation, two things should happen. You should look at two things. One, what are the chances of that risk happening? it can be high, medium, or low. That means it may happen. It is very soon. It is very likely it may happen, or it is not likely, or the chances of that happening is very remote. So high chances of happening is high, medium, or low. That is the chances of that risk happening. Then, if it happens, what is the financial impact? Is it high, medium, or low? So if there is a risk, the chances of that happening is very high and its financial impact is very high. That means you are very likely to face a big crisis tomorrow. So you should draw a matrix of chances of risk happening on one line, axis line, and what is happening, what is the financial impact of that event, whether it is high, medium, or low. So if you find the chances are high, its financial impact is high, then you should find out it should be mitigated. You should take that to low. So looking like that, there will be so many risks which are under the low category, and the financial impact will also be low. The successful business people looks at that periodically and try to mitigate that risk to bring everything under low category. What is two laws? One law is chances of happening low, and even if it happens, the risk of that affecting, the financial risk of that affecting my business is low. This is called a low. So that is what a risk assessment matrix. There are many tools which are available. And see, actually what happens is business people, these are not something new. They will all sit together. Business people will sit together. They will discuss with their employees. Key business people, they call them. They sit around the table and ask them to respective people to tell. See, suppose my purchases are entirely from one source. Then there is a big risk. Something happens to that person. Suppose my sale is only to one person or to one country. And suppose US says now a sanction is imposed and say don't sell with that country. What will happen? So purchases from one person or sales to one person, too much concentration on either on purchases or it can be a key managerial personnel. You have a key person who does everything. He knows the business. What are the two risks possible? One, he is also a mortal person. Suppose something happens to him, God forbid, let it not happen. Suppose now when I am talking to you, think of your business. Do you have a key person in your business? Without him, you will not be able to do a business. If the answer is yes, you are a big risk person. You are running a big risk. What are the risks? One, if suppose something happens to him tomorrow, what will happen to your business? Number two, if I want to start your business, I will take that person, I will hire him. I will pay him double the salary that you are paying him, and I will start the same business that you are doing, and I will do it better. So you should not have one key person in your business. You should have so many persons, one supporting, complementing each other. That is how a successful business can be developed. The administrative architecture should be developed on that.
Sir, absolutely no problem, sir. Absolutely. Please continue, sir. If you permit, CA Abhishek would like to do a short summary, sir.
Please. Thank you, Abhishek. Yeah.
Dear participants, we have CA Abhishek, who is a big fan of CA Satyanarayan sir, and also a very young chartered accountant, very meticulous, as Satyanarayan sir would vouch for. He will do the summary now.
With your permission, sir.
Please, Abhishek, please.
So before starting, I just would like to introduce myself. I think you will not be remembering me. You are the person who interviewed me to join this organization, Novelty. I came there for your interview.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, sir. I'll just brush up on the points which Satyan sir has just mentioned. I will I'll start from the point where Anil sir has concluded. So the point which we started was types of diversification. So first one was vertical diversification, wherein he has given two examples. One is backward integration, and the other one is forward integration. Backward integration is we will be sourcing the products, we will be processing that and then selling it. The forward integration is after sales service. Once the point of sales is done, after the process starts, that is forward integration. The next one was horizontal diversification, which an example which he quoted was Maruti's example, where Maruti has actually shifted their focus from ordinary cars to a premium segment, where they have bought up Nexa to cater a premium class of customers. The next type of diversification he had talked about was concentric diversification. He gave an example, a beautiful example of a bakery, wherein the bakers who are usually into breads are diversifying their business into cakes or other confectionaries or biscuits and things like that. And also an example was given about Tata, wherein they started with commercial vehicles. Now they are doing LMVs, light motor vehicles. The next type of diversification he mentioned was conglomerate diversification. Tata itself, as an example, they are actually manufacturing from salt to steel. So they are a very good example for that. And the points next he mentioned was that a business always must have a disruptive strategy so that they can innovate in their strategies and progress forward. Innovate. He is stressed upon innovation, not invention, which can add value and value uh, against what the competitor is actually giving with having an upgraded technology. He gave an example of the failures which we have in public domain like Arcom or Kingfisher. And the next big topic which he started was for cash conversion cycle. Cash conversion cycle basically is from converting your cash invested to generating of cash. The amount of cash invested by you to your sales proceed. That's basically cash conversion cycle. So the shorter the cash conversion cycle, the better, which can actually add value to your organization, which can increase the profitability by reducing the borrowed fund and interest thereon. The objective of every business should be to reduce the CCC, and he gave a calculation method for that. That is number of days the stock is rotating, add the value with debtors outstanding days, reducing that from creditors payment days. You will get a CCC figure. The next topic we started was with risk assessment, where he gave an example of regulatory risk assessments, competitors, copycats, for example, obsolescence. Risk assessment is basically assessing your risks involved in a business and what are the probability or chances of happening that, to assess the impact in the financial impact of the organization, and preparing an RACM, risk assessment and control metrics, so that you can assess the risks associated with an organization and the probabilities and chances, wherein you can get controls on how you can mitigate those risks. So we have actually stopped from this point. So over to you, Satyan sir.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. You have thank you. You have summarized it very well. I hope it has been a great summarizing thing. Is very important. As I keep on saying, it's somebody that helps me like this. It's add value to the whole presentation. Thank you, Mr. Abhishek, for this effort that you have done. The next one, what you have to think about is regarding the skewed capital. Meaning if you may have a business where you will think that your business will be how much is your capital and how much is the loan funds. Every business will have a debt equity ratio. Debt how much, equity how much. It is I cannot give you one standard ratio of how much is the debt equity. Normally we said that 1:2. 1:2. That means if you are having one capital, you can have double that as loan, not more than that. If you want to have a capital base of 150, 50 should be your equity and 100 should be your capital, that is loan funds, not more than that. But that varies from company, organization or the type of industry to industry. But if you are taking from a high leveraged borrowing, that means if you are taking, say, 30 to the extent of 4 times your capital or 5 times your capital, then you will be ending up with paying lot of interest to the financial institutions. And you will be doing business for the sake of financiers. You will not be able to take profit out of it. So that will ultimately lead to a situation where you will feel that you are in a debt trap. You will take loan from somebody, repay the earlier loan, then take loan from the third person and pay the first 2 persons. So you will end up being in a debt trap. So that while you structure your capital, you should be very clear that I will structure in a manner which is most appropriate for my type of business. So normally, one of my clients who was setting up a huge hospital, they wanted to set up, take loan like this, which is, and then set up a big hospital. Then we advise them that, no, if you set up the hospital in this manner, you will be taking a loan far in excess of your equity capital. So what you do is, you set up your hospital only in stages. The first phase you set up. Don't think about the hospital as the entire hospital complex as in the first phase. In the first phase, you set up a particular division or a particular number of rooms and with a correct capital ratio. After that, once that stabilizes, once the room capacity achieves that particular, then you add another division. Like that, you should be able to survive the initial gestation period. But if you had set up the whole infrastructure, include by taking loans, then you will not be able to service that loan. There are many such hospitals which you can see around. In Kerala, there are some hospitals around. I don't want to name them. They are in debt trap. So similarly, every type of hospitals or every type of business, whether a hospital or a mall or a cinema theater or even low manufacturing organizations, every organization, you should be very clear how is your loan content and how is your capital content and whether this is most appropriate. You should consult your auditor or your consultants and find out and take the right type of decision at the initial stage of setting up. Otherwise, whether your product is very good, your technology is very good, you have got everything all right for a successful business, only because that your business is skewed to an extent of it's a highly leveraged capital means you have taken huge amount of loan which you are not able to service. This will take to a situation where you will not be able to survive in the market. While also taking this loan, you should think that you must never give your personal guarantee. That is why Malaya is there. Vijay Malaya is there. So, but how do you, there are situations where the financier will say, no, unless you give your personal guarantee, we will not give it. But then you must be very sure that your family is protected. There should be sufficient, your house is there, your sufficient money is there with your family. And then only you take loan or give guarantee only to the extent that is required. So these are all examples. I have seen many such examples of my business people, my clients failing, and they have given bank loan, and 1 or 2 clients, they had to commit suicide because they had given bank guarantee and they had taken loan, debt after debt, servicing. Then we'll say you bring down. Because see, certain types of people will say that, okay, we are accountants, we are auditors, we find, and this I will say, this I should have mentioned when I was doing this diversification. Diversification is not a bad term. My client is that V-Guard. Kochepsov, when he was doing this V-Guard Industries, which means it was they into stabilizer manufacturing, into voltage stabilizer, this water heater, many things there, pump and everything. People who are in Bombay also will see that they have, it's a brand, in all India brand now. He wanted to start what? An amusement park. Then as auditors, we said, no, you should not start an amusement park. Then he said, why? I tell him, see, if you start an amusement park, at that time when he started about 15 years back, we said, see, people here cannot afford to spend 1,000 rupees for a day. Where the cinema theater at that point of time, the bikes are 150 rupees. They are used to paying 150 rupees and see a cinema in a theater. They will not spend 1,000 rupees and pay and enter into this amusement park. He listened to us, and finally after this he said, okay, thank you for your advice, but I am going to start. Then he started it, and it is a big success now. See, so what is the job of an auditor or a consultant? We tell you what are the pitfalls that you are facing. And it is up to you to understand, assimilate, and take an informed decision. So some of the clients will say that, see, you are always like that. You will say that don't start this, don't start this, don't do this, don't do this. There is a failure like that. So I am now, it is good, you have advice, but I am going to start it. When they start business like this, there are certain situations there where they will fail. So when you take a loan, I come to that situation where you are taking a loan and doing a business, you make sure that your family is protected. You are not you are not entering into a debt trap. You are not taking a high interest bearing loans. These are the three things. One, your loan equity loan ratio, capital to loan ratio is correct. Number two, interest, the interest rate is reasonable, which your business can repay. Your profitability can service that loan. Your business profitability can service that loan. The third, when you give personal guarantee, make sure that your family is protected. These are the three things which you have to make sure when you take a loan from a financial institution. See, financial institution generally, but generally there are blade companies, means there are the private financiers. In India, there is a financial inclusion is yet to happen. There are many unbanked areas. So people are not able to access bank finance. So then they go to these private financiers. When they go to these private financiers, then they will fall into this high debt trap. After covering this capital and loan ratios, the next one which I would mention is about proper budgeting skill sets. Every business should have certain budgeting exercise and MIS. MIS called Management Information Systems. I will touch upon budgetary system now. See, a budgetary system means you should have a capital budget and you should have a revenue budget. Budget, if you take a revenue budget, you will always, or a capital budget for that matter, there is a modern concept called, it's not a modern one, people have started using it more regular or more commonly now. It is called zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting means if you had achieved a 10 crores turnover of last year, 10 crores turnover, then at that time you had taken printing and stationery expenditure was 10 lakhs. 10 crores turnover, printing and stationery expenditure was 10 lakhs. So next year you are budgeting a turnover of say 11 crores. So the people who is preparing the budget will say that, okay, last year it was 10 crore sales. This expenditure was 10 lakhs. These persons will say that, okay, then what I will do is, since the turnover is going to be 11 crores, expenditure will be 11 lakhs. This is a normal budgeting exercise. But zero-based budgeting means this 10 crore, even if it is to be increased to 11 crore, the person who is preparing the budget should convince you what is the necessity of having that 10 crore even. Sorry, 10 lakh expenditure even. Even though last year expenditure was 10 lakhs, why the 10 lakh expenditure is required? Why it cannot be brought down? Forget about it. Yes, 11 crores is going to my turnover. For 11 crores turnover, why you want 10 lakhs expenditure? That is called zero-based budgeting. That is, base is zero. If you start the base with 10 lakhs, then he will say that since our turnover has gone up to by 10% and has increased to 11 crores, the expenditure should also go up by 10% and should be 11 lakhs. There is the mistake. There the mistake happens. So in this time of COVID, when our concentration should be to reduce the expenditure, you all should think about a zero-based budgeting. The base should be zero. That is why it is called zero-based budgeting. If you base previous year numbers, then you will commit a mistake. Previous year figure should not be taken. You take any expenditure for that matter, telephone expenditure, there is scope for reduction. You look at the telephone bills. After this corona has happened in my organization, I start how many telephone lines we have. Then I found that in my Ernakulam office, I have got a telephone, I have got 7 connections. Then all the 7 connections, we were paying, the expenditure had the highest rate. Even though we are not making any out call in that, because we are all using mobile phones. But we were in the highest bracket. Then we said, for receiving calls, why I should pay to this BSNL an expenditure which is the highest rate? Why it cannot be brought down? And now we have got, I brought down all the 5 numbers, out of the 7, 5 numbers I brought to the basic rate, and where I can receive calls. And if I have to make an external call, for that I have made 2 under that old slab. That also the slab I brought down, because we are all using mobile phones now. It's only an example which I wanted to tell you. You look at insurance expenditure. Every expenditure you see, there is a scope for reduction. That is what I said in the initial stage. During low tide, these type of rocks will emerge. These are all rocks. When we were on the high tide, we were not looking at these rocks. The water was there. We were surviving that. But once the water recedes, then we find that there are rocks like this. Then we should remove those rocks. That is the objective of this budgeting exercise. That is the fundamental to the budgeting, or the fundamental thing which I would say all of you should try is the zero-based budgeting. And you should have a proper MIS, manage your information system. When I meet and go to meet certain clients who are successful, I used to find out on the table a statement. I say, well, sir, what is this? Then he say, this is my last month. So much sale has happened in this state. So much this. Yesterday's report has come today's morning. A summary, brief summary. Every business will have certain key ratios or certain key parameters. That should come every day to him. If he knows that there is a mistake, immediate action can be taken. So this MIS is very important. Management information system is very important for an effective decision making. Then only you will be able to take an informed decision. You should also look at financial statements. absence of financial statements. See, many business people will not pay advance tax, 2 installments. Now the first installment was paid on 15th of June. The second installment has to be paid by 15th of September. The third one is 15th of December. Then the last one is on 15th of March. So if you have got proper financial statements, what is my profitability of the first quarter, profitability in the second quarter, third quarter, then you know that you are paying your taxes correctly. You will not have to pay interest correctly. You know where your business stands. As a businessman, you are agile. You will be able to take decision appropriate at the appropriate time. So for that, see, financially, in addition to this MIS statement, which will show only the critical ratios, a proper financial statement of balance sheet and profit and loss account is also important. That should not come after the end of the year. So normally, you will get only after 1 year. So 19 March figures, you will get only by 21. What is the use of such a financial statement? Only to file with the regulator. That's it. For a businessman, that is not. The numbers are matter. You take off your numbers, numbers will take care of you. I will repeat. You take care of your numbers, then the numbers will take care of you. But if you are disregarding the numbers, financial numbers, then nobody can help you. So absence of periodical financial statement is also very important. See, how to assess a profitability of a business? My advice to my clients normally will be, if you say that, sir, so one client used to come came and told me, sir, this time I think I have got huge profit. Why? Because the whole year I had got cash in my cash box. Last year I didn't have any money at all. Always I was facing financial difficulty. But this year, fortunately, I have got cash. So I conclude that my business is profitable. Do you think that such a type of assessment is right? No. Because the profit, the cash in the cash box can be because of a realization of a debt which was outstanding. That debt came. Last time the debt recovery was low. This time the debt recovery is better. So this year you cannot say that my profitability has increased. You can say that yes, cash conversion cycle has increased or my liquidity is better. But I cannot say that profitability is better. The profitability parameter is the net worth. Please note down, the profitability parameter is the net worth. You should have a look at your net worth. How do you compute your net worth? You take all your assets and reduce your liabilities. All the assets you take and you reduce your liabilities. That is a net worth. This net worth, you must compute first quarter net worth, second quarter net worth. So between first quarter and second quarter, whether the net worth has increased or come down. If it has increased, it means it is profitable. If it has reduced, means it is a loss. That is a simple technique. So net worth position should be evaluated periodically. If you are not having the habit of reckoning this net worth on a periodic basis, start on an half-yearly basis from this year onwards. Compute as on 30th of September. Compare with 31st of March 20. Compute on 30th of September 20 and find out whether the net worth has gone up or net worth has come down. Then again compute as on 31st of March 21. Find out whether how it has performed. So if you find that the net worth is increasing, meaning then your profitability is also increasing. So the cash in the cash box is not at all an indication of your profitability. That is an indication of either a better sales realization or an effective debtors realization or an effective cash conversion cycle management. and not indicates your profitability. The last one which I would mention is regarding complying critical laws. There are so many laws which are applying, which are relevant now. One can be on GST, income tax. I had a businessman who was very, very businessful. They were doing a service industry. They were not my clients, but they had not paid their income tax correctly. One income tax raid happened, and they found out certain books where they had not accounted certain matters correctly. And the income tax people sent notices. It was a very successful business. They wound up the business. The business closed. It was sold to somebody else at a loss. And they all of them, there were 4 partners, all of them went into different employment. They are not started another business. Only because they were not advised correctly how to pay income tax. They thought that let it come, I can manage. Similarly with the GST, they have got powers. These officers have got powers to finish a businessman. So you have to comply with laws. Get guided by your chartered accountant and advisor, and pay taxes correctly. Yes, you cannot think that you can always oversmart the government. Government will someday catch hold of you. So comply with critical laws. When you comply with critical laws means, if you are a businessman, there will be certain regulator. If I am in the business, in a banking business, my regulator is Reserve Bank of India. If I am a share broker, my regulator is SEBI. So I may be regulated by, my business may be regulated by a regulator that is specific to my business. Then there are certain laws which are applying to all business like income tax and GST. So you should comply with the laws relating to your segment of business, and also laws relating to general business. Both should be complied with. How do you know that? You must ask your consultant. I was asked by a company to find out how many laws they are required to comply to do a business in India, not in a state. This company had business all over India. I checked up, I found out from every state what are the laws this company has to comply with. And I was amazed that there are 871 laws which they had to comply in all over India to do a business. Labor law, some Poison Act, some act is there, Poison Act, Minimum Wages Act, Labor Law, Weights and Measures, so many such laws are there. So you should be aware what are these things, how it can affect your business. There are certain things which are procedural, but certain things you should know that they can finish you off. So such businesses you should be very careful. So you must sit with your consultant, find out what are the laws which are applicable and comply with those critical laws. The last one which I would mention is regarding digital data analytics. See, this data analytics is a new concept now. See, when you do a business, see the customer behavior, or how a customer, what the customer wants, or how you are performing in a particular area, how much, these are all volumes of data you are having in your computer. In your computer system, you will be having. All those things should be captured in a manner, and the data should be analyzed and should give you in a manner in which you can take an informed decision. Artificial intelligence, blockchain concepts. Oracle has a big financial, and there are so many packages. I'm not saying Oracle is the best. So many things are there. That using those tools, you can do your business better. I understand that there is a tool for hospital management. There, they can know how many patients have come, whether this patient had this disease or not, how many operation theaters were done, what is the time for an OP man coming and OP person going for seeing a doctor. And see, one hospital told me that, see, these senior doctors, surgeons were idling their time because they didn't have the paramedical nurses available with them to support them. Without the nurses, they cannot do the surgery. So the senior surgeon number of nurses were not available to support them. This information they got through this data analytics. So how you can do, see, these banks, HDFC is using data analytics right from, I think, 2004 onwards. They say how many customer, what is the time a customer is coming, or customer behavior they can predict, and they can see whether, they can find out whether a customer's account will become bad or not. Such types of tools are available. So these are not very costly, 25,000, 30,000, 50,000 cost with these things. They find out which is the most appropriate for your business. Using that data, you should be able to take an informed decision. I have reached almost 9 o'clock. Sorry, Anil Sab, I am sorry, I have exceeded that limit. So I think if you have got any questions, I will be only happy to answer, or
been absolutely amazing, respected sir. I've just kept on making notes and notes and notes.
No, sir. So we will wind up for today, sir. Thank you very much for giving me this time.
If you could just, sir, if I could just, with your permission, just repeat 2 or 3 lines with your permission. Any Please. Questions here? We'll just take 5 minutes. Any questions? Okay. So it's a thank you to you, sir. Finance for even non-finance persons made very clear. Dr. Vinod Nair is thanking you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Pleasure seeing you, doctor, in this platform again. Thank you.
So one very important thing sir mentioned, I would like to leave you all with that, is the CCC, cash conversion cycle. Extremely important, right? So in fact, that I think all of you all should please have a measure. Abhishek, all of you all, Abhishek Bete, all of you all, please have a measure on that. Compliances, I think one thing which sir told, and I immediately looked at dear Abhishek and we smiled, is 871 business laws. And on one side, government is talking of ease of doing business. So it really doesn't go together. But sir, with this experience, just say this, that just having cash in your bank balance does not make you making profits. So as we say, profit is not equal to cash. Cash is also not equal to profit. Big learning today. One last thing sir said, is zero-based budgeting. I think all of us should revisit this entire assumptions. Don't take 1%, so 10 crores, 10 lakhs, 11 crores, 11 lakhs, just revisit them, right? And I immediately checked with C. Abhishek here. He said, yes, we have done zero-based budgeting for Novelty Textiles under guidance of Verma and Verma. So I think we'll have one more session on, especially on zero-based budgeting. Satya sir, before we leave for today, it's been an amazing session, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anil sir, for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much for all the participants for listening this. Thank you. Thank you. Abhishek for supporting Anil sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you, all of you all.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.